Hello YouTube, De-bodgery here. Welcome to EV Components Review. This is obviously a torn apart TP-128, the ones that just arrived. They arrived yesterday, in fact. 17 of the 20 boxes arrived. 3 boxes, FedEx never received them, so Top Power still has them in their possession at their warehouse in Cheadle, California, I hope. So anyway, I've contacted them about that, and I'll probably get those other 3 boxes that are missing that contain 6 motors, sometime middle of the week or whatever. But anyway, so I've got 34 of the 40 motors in my possession right now, and so I'm going to kind of explain what I want to do here, and that'll sort of make sense. This is not a teardown. I'm just showing you a torn down motor to show you what it is I'm talking about. Later on, I can do, like sizes and dimensions and inductance and resistance and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so the reason why I'm doing this is to announce that I have your motors. So everybody that has bought a motor, paid for them already, please PM me and PM me about the things that I'm about to talk about right now. So the first one is, you want your motor as is. I don't care where you are on the planet. Some of you are in Europe, some of you are in Asia, some of you are in Canada, most of you are in the United States. You want your motor as is. Please PM me and tell me, please ship my motor or motors as is. If you bought 1 motor, I have that documented. If you bought more than 1, I have that documented. I have everybody's addresses already. So all I need is for you to tell me, ship my motors as is, and then I will box them up, and they will. Then I will weigh everything, tell you what shipping is going to be. You pay me for shipping, and they go to you. So that's the first batch right there. That's the easiest thing to do, is just box them up as is and ship them. All right. So number 2 is I'm going to test motors. So if you want me to just ship them to you as is, then all you're going to do is pay for shipping. Okay. If you want me to test your motor, and that means basically stick it on a controller and try it out. Make sure it spins up. I won't do load testing. I'm just going to make sure it runs, okay? Make sure the hulls work. Make sure that the thing obviously spins up, stuff like that. And I will do all this stuff at 82 volts or 20S. And I will do that on an FOC controller. I have several FAR drivers and ASIs and best controllers because, I do teardowns and stuff, right? So it'll go on one of those, and I'll just give it a quick spin up. If you want me to do that, that's going to be 25 bucks. So test is $25 if you want me to do tests. I considered sending out all the motors tested, but the truth of the matter is, you guys are already getting these motors at my cost, all right? I literally am giving you the motors at the price that I paid for them. So $88 per motor, and all the rest of that $135 that I've been telling everybody is things like taxes, shipping, customs. I mean, literally 100% of that after that $135 after the $88 is all spent. I don't get a dime off any of this stuff. So if you want me to do anything for your motors, I'm going to ask you for money for that, just because I'm putting my time and effort into your stuff. So if you want me to test your motor, 25 bucks, and then your motor can go out, and then that way we know it left me working. There is no warranties on anything if I didn't test it out, okay? You're literally getting a motor as is from Top Power, me having done nothing to it, if I just ship it to you as is. If it gets tested by me, you pay that 25 bucks, and then there's some kind of problem with it, like say a hull doesn't work or something, well, I would have already detected that, and I would have replaced it already. And I would have shipped you a motor that didn't work anyway. So anyway, yeah, that 25 bucks is going to cover some ability for me to take care of some things. For example, I bought 10 motors myself. If your motor, you've had it in place for like 5 days and you didn't burn it out, because I'm flat out not going to cover it if you burn a motor out. But you develop like a winding short. Ship it back and I'll send you one of the other ones. I don't care about that because I'm going to be doing a lot of rewinds anyway. So a winding short is no big deal to me. Okay, so as is just the shipping cost to get it to you. And those ones will go out first. If you want me to test it, 25 bucks for that. And then I'll ship it out to you. Whatever the shipping cost is, that's going to be what that is, and then it goes to you. All right, the next thing is these motors don't have temp sensors in them. If you want me to add one for you, I can do that. So right here is the Hall cable. There is not a spare wires in there, so I will have to bring out 2 new Teflon wires. I need to buy some long heat shrink to put those in. I don't have any right now, but I will use Teflon wires, and I will take a temp sensor and embed it in the winding somewheres. I will stick it in there with thermal glue so it gets a good thermal transfer from the temp sensor to the windings, and like bring out Teflon wires, like say, I don't know, a foot, and put heat shrink on it. So for that, just to add a temp sensor, 25 bucks, just like how I described. Okay, so the next thing is, these motors are obviously bound up with zip ties. You know, it's not all particularly tight. You know, the zip ties are not particularly tight either. If you want me to bind up a motor, like you've seen me do so many times before, you know, like on QS165s, like you saw me do on the really, really loose F-spec motor, which really needed binding, and to add motor varnish to it, I can do that too. And to do that, right there, to do all that binding, and to add motor varnish, $35. If you want me to add a temp sensor to that, $25 for that. So I'm giving you item prices, okay, for different things that I'm willing to help you with to do for your motors. So if you want me to bind up your motor and add varnish to it, just completely otherwise as is, $35 for that. Okay, next thing is, and also these things are going from easy to hard, you know, which is also why the prices are going up. So the next thing is, you want me to do some work on your shaft. So now this is harder because I have to use my little tool. Most of this effort is in pressing the shaft out of the armature and in pressing it back in place without damaging anything, which I can do, obviously, because, you know, this is literally the 4th armature that I have pressed off a shaft, and it's A-okay. No splits in it, no major buggery, magnets aren't smashed, things like that. Obviously, it can be done, and I can do it. They don't have to look like the F-spec motor as it came from Komodo with splits in here and, you know, all the rest of the bodgery that you get with that. So anyway, for $50, I will do 2 things to your shaft. You know, obviously I've got to disassemble everything. I've got to pull the shaft out of the armature. And then I will machine off this shoulder right here and take it down to 20 millimeters, which is what this is and what this is. And that's going to allow you to take the bearings off the front rather than them being trapped behind that shoulder. And then you got to press the shaft off of the armature to get at it. So I will machine that off to 20 millimeters, and I will put an M6 threaded hole in the end for that 50 bucks. If there's something else you want me to do the shaft, so call this shaft mod number 2. For example, like 219 sprockets, number 35 sprockets, their inner diameter is 3/4 of an inch. So this is 20 millimeters right here. I can reduce that diameter to 3/4 of an inch, and also the keyways in both of those sprockets are 3/16. So this is a 4 millimeter keyway. So if you want me to make that into a 3/16 keyway and reduce that to 3/4 of an inch, then 25 bucks for that. So 50 bucks is going to get shaft removal, shaft installation again, motor put back together again, this removed, and an M6 thread. Another $25 on top of that will get this reduced to 3/4 and a 3/16 keyway in there for 219 and number 35 sprockets. So yeah, for that, for everything, for all of that stuff, all that shaft work, that's really going to be $75, okay? If you want a spare shaft, I have 10 spare shaft. They cost me, get off of there, these shafts cost me $10 a piece, so you can have them for $10 a piece, as is. If you want me to do something to the shaft, and it's already not in the motor, well, then let's just call this, for this and this, 25 bucks, and for this stuff, another 25 bucks. And, you know, you'll get it not installed in the motor. If you want me to actually, like, press out a shaft and press in a new one and do this and this, that's $50. Hope that's clear. All right, so as you can see, we're going from easy to hard. All right, so the hard one is a rewind. So if you want me to rewind your motor, like I've shown from the MotorCAD simulations before, for that simulated 32 kilowatts maximum, I would be willing to do that for you. So that's 177 kV wind. It's a 70% copper fill in the stator, which doesn't sound like a lot, but that is a lot. Pretty darn sure this is probably more like, say, 60% or 55% fill. So 70% is actually really impressive to get that on a stator. Yeah, it's not as easy as it sounds. If anybody's ever wound a motor, you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so if you want me to do one of those winds for you, that is $400, okay? And here's what that covers. So one, I gotta take all the windings off, keep the board. You won't get these wires back, you don't need them. You'll get this hull cable back because that's on this board, so that's just gonna go right back in place again. I will add a temp sensor, I will bind up all the windings, I will test to make sure there's not like winding shorts. I will check inductance and winding resistance. I will tin all the wire ends, and I will put either ring terminals on there like you see here, or I can put bullets on there of some kind. So all that stuff for $400. And obviously everything will get bound up and everything will get varnish on it. So that's what the $400 costs. If you want me to do something else on top of all that stuff, remember I've given you prices for individual things. So something that is going to be okay for the factory wind, but isn't going to be okay for a 32 kilowatt wind is these bearings. So this is a 6004 bearing. Yeah, you can see it right there. And it is made by RUWH, whoever that is. This isn't a very good bearing. It's rather stiff. I will absolutely insist that you put better bearings in your motor if we do this rewind. The RPMs will be much higher. The torque, the loading on the bearings will be much higher. We better use some good quality bearings because these ones won't last. I mean, you'll just wear them out like instantly or just close to it. Like this bearing is pretty stiff. I would not want to use this one right now in anything I had. So expect that I'm going to charge you for bearings, and they will be NSKs, Nachis, or Temkins. Most likely, they won't be some Chinese brand like this. If you want something special, like say a ceramic bearing, well, they're going to cost more. I will be using steel bearings, but they will be from a well-known, reliable source, name brand source, like Temkin, Nachi, or NSK. I won't be using off-brand bearings for anything. So if you want me to do bearings, I don't know what they're going to cost yet. Haven't looked that up yet. But yeah, whatever the bearings cost, if I take your motor all apart and I have to push your shaft out and do all that stuff, I'm not going to charge you to install bearings. I'm just going to charge you for the bearings, okay? So anyway, yeah. If you're going to get a 32 kilowatt rewind, you're getting new bearings and you're paying for new bearings, okay? That's just a flat given. So expect that I'm going to charge you for new bearings if I do all that stuff. And you'll probably also, if you do all that stuff, you're probably also getting shaft rework. So anyway, it's tiered on purpose so you can get what you want. And the easy things first is ship it as is. Those will go right away. Just as soon as I know that you want them shipped as is. People that want me to do things like add a temp sensor, PM me, tell me that. You already know that I'm saying $25 for that. If you want me to test the motor, those two things are both pretty easy, $25 for each one of those. And then it goes to you like that. If you want me to bind everything all up, $35 for that. That'll take a little bit more time. So those will go out after all of the test me or add a temp sensor ones. If you want me to do shaft rework, again, that's harder. That's going to take more time. That's going to be a minimum of $50 and probably $75 for the people that want more things done. So those will take more time. Again, it gets harder. So those ones will then ship later. And again, of course, you'll still pay for shipping, but you'll also be paying me for like the shaft work I do. And then if you want me to do a rewind, that's $400 for that. And obviously none of the zip ties will be there. You'll get this board back. Everything will be bound up with winding thread. They'll be varnished and everything. You'll get the temp sensor as well. I will do all of the winding tests that I could possibly do. I will run the motor, things like that. We'll know that the motor works before it ever walks out the door. Those ones will be the last ones to ship because that takes the most time to do. It's the hardest thing to do. So, yeah. I think that's covering everything, $400 to do the rewind and all that stuff I just said. So anyway, that's kind of how I'm going to plan this thing out. Please PM me, let me know which one of those things you want, and now I will write down all that stuff. People have asked me to do rewinds for them, and I have not recorded that information so far, because I figured that people would change their mind, because, you know, it's literally been, what, 55 days since I started this whole thing? It's been a good little while. People change their minds. They decide, no, never mind, I don't want to do that. So I've literally just not bothered recording that stuff. So let me know what you want to do, and then some motors will go quickly shipped out to you because they're just as is, and so on. All right, I think that covers everything. Yep, that's a little bit long-winded, but there was a bunch of stuff to say. Hope that helps some folks out. Yeah, PM me, you guys, everybody who bought a motor from me, you know how to get in touch with me, because you all paid me. You know, you literally paid me money, so you definitely know how to get a hold of me. And we can get those things done that you want done in as timely a fashion as I can push it out the door. And yeah, it'll be in that order I've just described. So anyway, take care, folks. Contact me, let me know, and your motors are here. Minus 6 of them. But I ordered 10 myself, so I'm going to let your motors go out first, and I'll worry about me later, because I matter less than getting you your stuff. So, anyway, hope it helps out. Talk to you later. Adios!